Hello, everybody. We are here for Tuesday Talks. Tuesday Talks is all about getting to know an individual and finding out what makes them tick, what do they care about, how their career reflects that, and what motivates them to keep going. Now, today's guest is Suzanne Culberg. Now, she's an author, coach who helps overgivers and people pleasers learn to set boundaries and say no without feeling mean. Wouldn't we all want to feel that we don't want to feel mean when we're saying no? Suzanne is also known for her straight talking and her wacky t-shirts. I'm not sure if we're going to see any wacky t-shirts today, but let's wait and see. Let's grab Suzanne to come on here. Hello.
Hello, Zishan. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you very much for hopping on, Suzanne. I have done a short introduction for you already, but you're the best person to expand on that. So let us know who you are, what you do, and biggest question would be, why do you do it?
Certainly. I was going to say, in terms of wacky t-shirts, I've got Cruella de Vil on today. I don't know how much of you
Oh,
can see. It's like, there is an explanation, of course, and it says down the bottom, I'm not a very nice person. And a little cartoon meme of Cruella de Vil. So my
nice.
name's Suzanne Culberg. It's actually Wednesday Talks here. I'm in the future.
I know, right? So let's start with where you are now. So yeah, let's let the audience know where you are.
So I'm in Sydney, Australia. And yeah,
And
it's
it's
early Wednesday morning here. Future's
6
looking
a.m.
good.
Yeah.
Certainly is. And what I do, I am the Nope coach. So I help folks learn to say no in a way that feels good. So when they say no to others, they can say yes to themselves and get the stuff done that they want to get done. Because so many of us will do it, we're planning, we've got big plans to do after the kids are older or after
Mm.
Christmas, after our birthday, after whatever. And if we're always looking for a reason not to do something, we'll always find it. So I help people to actually say no to others so they can say yes to themselves and yeah, finally take that action that they've been putting off to one day.
I really love that. I really love that because nobody thinks of it this way, right? When you're saying yes to other people or anything else, you're saying no to yourself, which is I mean, I'll say in the last few years, I've been looking into it myself as well, because a lot of things that I said no to. So the question comes back to you in terms of, right, so why are you doing that, Susanna? Is that a story behind it?
It's a long story short. Um, it's I just reached a place where I realized that I had all the things that I was supposed to do. Like, I'd gotten married, I had the kids, I had the job, but I just didn't feel the way that I was supposed to feel. And I think so many of us end up in this situation. We have all the external trappings of success, and you can't ever say that you're not happy or whatever because you've done all the things. And it's like, well,
Mm.
what actually is missing? And to take a risk and to do something like I had a 9 to 5 job for, many years, I drove a desk. And when people say their jobs are soul sucking, like I totally get it. And it's like, why do we do it? And people would say, could you just, and you're like, sure, you don't even
Mm.
pause to ask what it is. You just become the yes person. And then often inside you're screaming no. Like, no, I don't want to bake the cookies for the school sale. No, I don't want to cut 6 kilos of onion for the barbecue. No, I don't, but you just end up in this space where you're always saying yes to everybody else. And then sometimes you reach a point where you need some help. And sometimes, you can assume because you've done all this stuff, there's this universal ledger.
Mm.
And when you get to a place where you need some help yourself, it's really difficult to ask for. So that's a whole other thing. How many of us are the first person to volunteer, but will never actually ask for help because we don't want to impose? What are we saying about the people that we're helping? So, and then it's like, yeah, do I really want to do all these things anymore? And is it serving me? And for a lot of the time, it was no. So it kind of it started from there.
I see. I mean, it's quite wonderful to hear that, like, so it started from where your journey coming from the regular 9 to 5 and being behind the desk and driving the desk. And I've been coming from the corporate background myself. You can, yeah, the way they just go, oh yeah, do you mind just doing this? Oh, 5 minutes of this. That we know it's never a 5 minute thing. What they're asking is literally few hours or the next day, and you've just committed to it being nice. So how can somebody say no without being mean? That's something I want to know as well, and I'm sure everybody wants to know.
So the first thing is, if someone asks you something, is the pause before you actually jump in and say immediately yes. So a lot of people feel uncomfortable saying no in the beginning. So I wouldn't say, because we have this pendulum. We go from saying yes to everything to often saying no to everything and then penduluming back. So it's doing it in a healthy way. Like, so thank you so much
Mm,
for asking. Let me get back to you. So that just gives you that pause to actually check, is this something that I want to do? And like, so anyone asks me for it. So if you're like, hey, Suzanne, I've loved this chat so much. Let's do it again tomorrow. Thank you so much for asking, Zishan. I need to check my schedule. I'll get back to you. So it just gives you that kind of little bit of a break, because often we say yes in the moment, and we might even want to in the moment. Then we get home and we're like, oh, what have we done? Or as you said, they're like, it will just take 5 minutes. And you're like, okay. 2 hours later. And then you've set this
yes.
weird precedent that you didn't even mean to. And the next time they're like, oh, Suzanne won't mind. She always does this. And then next thing you know, this 5 minutes of 2 hours happens again and again. And you've dug
Mm,
yourself into this giant hole. So the first thing is to, acknowledge, thank you for asking, or, I appreciate you reaching out. I'll get back to you. So, and then deciding from there. So say for me personally, I don't have email on my phone now. Like, I don't have email. I've turned all my notifications off, and it's just so freeing. And then if people ask me things, like, I'm an entrepreneur, I know a lot of entrepreneurs live in the DMs. I do
mhm.
not. I'm like, email me. And it's really funny because when we were setting up this talk, you'd invited me to be a collaborator. I don't check my DMs. And then you sent me an email saying, hey, I've invited you to be a collaborator. Oh, great. I got onto that immediately. But, it's like, what are you? And I'm not saying you don't have to DM. Like, if you love
Mm,
that, you do you. But it's finding what are the things that you actually enjoy. I don't enjoy it because this is how it happens. I get distracted by my phone, and then I don't
mm,
spend time with my kids. And then my kids say to me, oh, you're always on your phone. So it's like having clear boundaries with work life balance. But you have to create that. Like, and so many people say, oh, I'd love to be like you. And it's like, oh, I used to live on my phone. One day my son said to me, deadpan, it changed my life, this moment. Mummy, you love your phone more than you love me. And my heart
oh,
broke. And I
yeah.
was like, he's right. I'm always on my phone. My phone
Mm,
buzzes, I'll drop immediately and, respond to that. So it's like setting up the boundaries. If somebody really wants to get hold of you, they will. And then the story we tell ourselves that we're being rude or we're being this, but what about the people in our physical lives, in our actual presence, our family, our children? Example are we setting for them by being so responsive? So first thing in how to say no, back to your question, is acknowledging that you've been asked and you appreciate that, because I do appreciate people asking me for things, and then saying I'll get back to them, so never saying yes in the moment. And then when I get out of the space, going like, okay, perfect example, school's just gone back here in Australia, and we always have the chocolate thing, where they send home like 50 boxes of chocolates for like $4 each, and they're like, can you go sell these?
mhm, mhm.
No. So then you're like, okay, what's the school after here? They're fundraising. So what are they going to get? Maybe 50 cents a pack of chocolate. Maybe. So I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm not letting my kids go door to door. Most people wouldn't. So what do we end up doing? We buy $200 worth of chocolate ourselves and eat them.
Wow.
So it's like, thank you so much for this. How about you keep the chocolates? I will donate $50 because then I save 150 plus all that chocolate, and then it's a win-win. So often I think we say yes, but we don't actually pause to see what are they really after and can we negotiate this. So if someone asks you, can you do something, and it's just going to take 5 minutes, thank you for asking me. I'll get back to you. Or is this truly going to take 5 minutes? Like, let's break this down so that they know how long it takes, and that, you know, you can be really open about, you know, when this is going to be. Because the other thing too, most of these 5 minute jobs, people ask you 5 minutes before work finishes, so you end up staying back. And then once you've done it once, you keep doing it. Then saying, actually, Zishan, that took 2 hours. I've done it this time, but next time you need to ask me before here, or we need to negotiate this. Like, most people are not rude. Like, we tell ourselves in our head all the stuff they're going to say, but if you actually pause and have the conversation, most people are pretty willing and open to realize that they are kind of putting you out.
I love that actually, and it's just made me think of how I looked at it as well. Is you're not valuing yourself as well, your own time. I know you mentioned family, kids, and for the people who don't have kids and at the moment, valuing yourself, your own time, right? So and yeah, if we give away our 5 minutes now, which took us 2 hours, it just becomes that, oh yeah, that person will now stay behind because they spent that time, they didn't say anything, they've done it. We can ask this person again. Oh yeah, you don't mind doing it, do you? And then you're in that loop of, I can't really say no because I've done it once. It's and a lot of people, as you said, yeah, creating those excuses. How I look at things is, you're not valuing yourself. If you value yourself, you will maybe at least make the point of, oh yeah, it took me extra 2 hours to do this. It didn't take 5 minutes because XYZ or whatever was missing, and I had to find it and, fact find all this stuff, why it took me that long. But here it is, I've done it. And as you said, next time if you need something, maybe ask me a day earlier or a few hours before, so I can help you out. These are my free times where I have some time available, so everybody has that. Few pockets here and there where I'm sure we can support somebody and things like that. So now that you're helping others with creating this, so what does that journey look like for someone who might want to now link up with you and start this journey?
Well, most people who come to me are the yes people. So they have a really hard time saying no. And getting to that place of, it can feel frightening, it can feel scary to be like, hey, actually, I'm going to start setting these boundaries. And I think the reason is because often we do say yes to the 5 minute job that's 2 hours repeatedly, until we reach a point where we're so frustrated that we kind of semi blow up at the person. And then the person's wondering, whoa, what went on? And I think that's why we fear setting these boundaries and starting to say no, because we haven't done it from a healthy place. So it's like starting to rein this in and get onto it earlier instead of when we're so fed up, frustrated, and burnt out. So when people come to work with me, I have a program called Why Wait? What are we waiting for? And we start having a look at, okay, the first thing I ask anybody I work with is like, what are all the tasks that you have on at the moment? And almost everybody says, oh, nothing, just this. And I'm like, so you don't have a job? Oh yeah, no, I'm an entrepreneur, or I work a 9 to 5. Do you have like pets or hobbies? Oh yeah. So it's kind of like getting clear, because so many of us don't realize how much we already have on our plate, and then doing an audit of all these things here because we actually want to do them, or we've just kind of accumulated them and said yes. So it's kind of looking at everything that we have on. Do we want to continue doing these things? If not, how do we delegate them in a healthy way, not just, shuffle and hope for the best?
Yeah.
How do we ditch? Because sometimes things that we've been doing, we can automate, or we can ditch, or we can, they're no longer in service to what we're doing. Look at our to-do list and how much mental energy that's taking up. Because I think, we often look at our actions, but what about our inactions, the things that we're going to do one day, or the things that we've been putting off, or the things that wake us up in the middle of the night because like, oh, I haven't done this. And, cleaning all of this up before we even start with people who are making requests of our time as we go forward. And then, looking at how we handle that. And as you said, examples like these 5 minute jobs that take 2 hours, or these things that we've just kind of got ourselves into and don't yet know how to cleanly get ourselves out of.
So that's actually a good. I love that. Why is it? What was it? Why wait, or what you waiting for?
Yeah, why wait?
Why wait? I love that actually, because when you were thinking of why wait, also it's like, okay, so why wait to then say at the end, and why wait for also when you're bottling everything up and then exploding at the end, and the other person's like, oh, what's happening here? I didn't know, uh, because you weren't sharing your boundaries. So I love that, and I can see the journey for them to go. So how long is that journey for person? Is it like a few months or weeks?
So it's a 10-week program, and I run it 4 times a year. So some people come, they do one round, they're like, "Yep, got this," and off they go into the sunset. And some people come back and they just do round after round after round. I have a very seasonal approach to my work because in life we often see things as linear, and things are
Mm,
marketed before and after. But what happens after the after? Like, so that's what I'm most curious about. Whereas in nature, nothing blooms all year. So whenever we run a program, we're going to give it an artificial timeline because,
mm,
that's the time that people work with us. So we start in the spring, like planting the seeds of like, what are we going to do this round? What are we aiming to achieve? And then the summer of taking the consistent and persistent action to chip away at that goal. And then the autumn, like, or fall, I don't know what you call it where you guys are. In Australia, it's
oh,
autumn.
well, yeah, it's autumn. It's autumn. Yeah.
So the harvest. So many of us, we don't harvest our efforts because we've set out to make money, sign so many clients, lose so much weight, whatever it is. We're not there yet, like at the goal. So we just refuse to do any harvest. We're just going to keep chipping away or putting it off and quitting entirely. But even if you're not there, who have you become along the way by the steps that you've taken, by the things that you've created already? And then we have the winter, like the rest, either between rounds or this season, this round is done. And I think this is really important for each of us in whatever we're doing in life, because we can just always continually push the goalposts back. And it's like, you might not be there yet. You might not be fully booked with clients. You might not have your, how many $1,000s in savings or lost the weight. I used to be a weight loss coach. But all these little things, the trajectory that you're on, these steps that you've taken are having impact. So that's how the program runs, looking at these seasons and taking that forward into whatever we do in life.
I actually really love that. So that you're going with the nature and the seasons of, harvesting and bloom and then autumn and everything. It's actually so natural as well. So, right. So because of those season changes, we change along with it. Even though not a lot of people talk about it, it's a fact that when the seasons are changing, you are changing, your habits are changing as along with that. Sometimes for quite a lot of people, their mindset is changing at the same time, but they're just not noticing it because they are in a loop of things that they're doing. And I love the fact that you also touched upon, the fact that when you're asking them why wait, and they're saying, oh, what you got going on, and they say, oh, just this, and then they forgot the whole day that they do other stuff, right? And then, oh yeah, no, this is what you need help with, but what else? That all needs to come through. Which brings me to another question here. So, are you a firm believer of lists or scheduling,
That is just
or
such a
what?
great question because I find some people are really good schedulers and planners, but then when it comes to actually actioning that, like I remember a past client messaged me last week before, and she's like, I've planned my entire content schedule like out to 2025. And I was like, that's awesome. So when are you gonna start posting? So I think sometimes we can use planning and scheduling as a way to avoid actually taking action. So I actually am a planner, but bigger blocks of time. So not like
Mm,
some people, I see their Google Calendar down to the 15 minutes and I'm like, oh, I'm impressed, but like that just exhausts me to look at it. And I actually plan my rest first. So the very first thing I plan or schedule is my time off because that's the thing that we tend to drop. We're like, we drop our exercise, we drop our self care, in saying yes to everybody else. And then we wonder why we stay up late watching Netflix, eating chips, and telling ourselves we'll start again tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I do schedule, but not minutely down to the thing, and then get behind. And then like the time that I schedule will be like working on work. So rest first, then client facing time. So clients that I have booked,
Mm-hmm.
their sessions, my program. And then outside of that, it will be blocks to work on my business, like, recording podcasts or making the little clips. You were asking about them earlier, so we can talk about them, content, but not so specific that then I'll be like, oh, I don't feel like talking about that today. So it'll be like, I'll work on something, but not so minute. It's just kind of like, I'm going to be doing content creation, and then that's the broadest that I leave it.
That's actually fantastic because I'm a firm believer of scheduling myself. I mean, I don't, well, yeah, I suppose when you're scheduling or planning comes in there. So I'm not a heavy planner, but I do schedule stuff way, way ahead in time. And I love that you mentioned that you put in or schedule in your me time as well. I do that myself as well, even though that's in between my podcast, in between my calls. I do have a day job as well. So in between that, it's in the calendar and it will pop up as a notification. Oh, this is there. It'll just say me time. Nothing specifically what I need to do. Does just mean I need to now do whatever that is. That will be 5-10 minutes depending on the day. Usually I always say to everybody, how many times we look up at the sky, and mostly majority of the people will say never or I can't remember. So for me, that's when that happens. When it says me time, whatever I'm doing, I'll just walk out, or if I am somewhere, I'll just start looking up. And what that does is I'll just look up for a couple of minutes. It's just opens you up and broadens your mind as well. So that is me just resetting myself, because if I had continued, I'll be narrow-minded in terms of whatever I'm looking at. Vision will be tunnel visioned, and then I'll be stressed and I'll be getting overwhelmed. And also, because you're just going like a train with whatever's on your schedule. Next thing, next thing, next thing. I understand some people like to see themselves busy on their calendar. That's a whole different scenario of like, maybe you want to see that, oh yeah, look how busy I am.
But are you busy or are you productive? That's my
Exactly.
question.
Exactly. So that's what I was about to say. Is that just busyness or is that actually productiveness in there? Productiveness will come in by putting in your time. In between my times, I also have buffer time. So buffer time is there's nothing. I done
Yeah,
my
but
me
the thing
time.
is, so many
Yeah.
people don't do buffer time as well. They schedule themselves back to
Yes.
back to back. And I look at them like,
No.
so when do you go to the toilet? When do you have something to eat? When do you do some stretches?
Exactly. Exactly.
We're human
Exactly.
beings, not human doings. Or in their break time, like you mentioned, break time, if they do have that, I ask them what they do. They say they check the email. I'm like, that's not a break. That's just
Yeah.
substituting your needs for somebody else's, because there's somebody
Exactly.
else coming and asking you stuff. So it's like, true break time. I love how you said, look at the sky, look for shapes in the clouds, have
There you
just
go.
a couple of breaths of fresh air.
Yeah, that's all you need, because that's just resets you anyway. And I love that you shared about the time that you take to also work on your podcast and the clips that I've noticed on your Instagram channel. So take us through that, because I was trying to understand what it is. I'm sure they're clips from your podcast. So take us through your podcast. What's it about and what those clips are?
So I have a podcast called Over It with Christan and Suzanne. So Christan's a fabulous coach who works on minerals, and then I work on mindset. So we are but we also disagree on a lot. So it's a it's a fascinating listen, and I take some clips, so just like little reels from the
Mm,
episodes, and then I post them on Instagram as reels. And then if you watch the clip and go, oh, I actually want to hear like the full scoop of this, then the link to the full episode will be in the bio there. And it's just been what I found. I'm only a fairly new podcaster. This is our second month. Is people often say, oh, this is great, and I really love it. But finding people to listen to it, like you're giving somebody an hour of your time. It's a big
mm.
ask for somebody that you don't yet know. So what the little clips are good for, if you listen to that or a few of them and go, actually, I like the sound of these two, um, then you can go and, invest longer and listen to a full episode. Or if you're like, huh, they're not for me, then there's the, hide or unfollow button. So, whichever, floats your boat.
So I love that. So take us through a little bit more in that journey. So like, what do you guys talk about? I know you said minerals and mindset. So how does that bond?
So how does that bond? So basically, for both of us, a lot of our clients are over it, hence the title of our podcast. They're over giving, they're over people pleasing, they might be over consuming, overworking, and so many people. It's not that we don't know what to do. Everybody knows what to do. We just don't do it. So
Mm.
what we talk about in the podcast is just whatever's come up for us in that week. Like we do a little bit of planning. We have a list of topics that we want to talk about, but basically we have this is how our schedules work. This is the time that we record the podcast, Tuesday 1:30. But then when Tuesday 1:30 rolls around, whatever we feel like talking about that week. So far we've had episodes on, we've had one on planning, like how to get more done in less time. We've the one that's coming out tomorrow is we're a little bit salty, so if the language isn't for you, like I totally get it. But it's like how to give less of a care about what other people think about you. So that's tomorrow's episode. And then with the minerals side, like a lot of people, what I love about Christine's work, and I never realized till I came across her, we've all heard about vitamins, like,
Mm-hmm.
having multivitamin or whatever, but like the minerals, we're deficient in, natural minerals, and how our cravings can often be reflected in, mineral deficiencies. So she talks a lot about that. And when we get to the root cause of these deficiencies, then we don't often have the cravings and that. So we talk about that. We talked about consent in business, because how often do people like slide into your DMs and promise you the world? So we recorded an episode on that. Just basically, everyday stuff that comes up that we see with our clients or ourselves, and then we just publish it once a week.
That's quite interesting. I actually definitely will check that out because it does sounds like interesting topics are being discussed, and having two perspective, two different worlds as well, to bring and here I'm sure there's been few disagreements there.
Oh, totally. We
So
disagreed on our very first episode, and it's just, I think it's to show that we can disagree with each other but still respect each other fully. So the perfect example: Christine has children. I have children. Her children, no photos, no names. Like, she mentions that she has kids, that's it, and she respects their social media blueprint, and I respect that. My kids are all through my business. Their names, their photos,
mm,
they turn up on my videos. And we just talk about how we think differently about their digital footprint, and we respect each other's opinions, but we just don't agree.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a funny topic that hiding kids and families off the social media, because at one point they are in other people's photo. If you're going to an holiday destination, you're in the background of someone's photo already.
Yeah,
So
well, exactly.
I
And the
think of
other
it
thing
that way.
too, I think about it is, in like, I asked them. It was funny. We had the return to school, and I took the photo. And at first they're like, "No, we don't want it." And I was like, "Oh," because every year I put up the return to school photo, and then later on they're like, "Oh, that's okay." But like, I respect their, if they don't want something shared.
Mm.
But most of the time, I swear my kids have a bigger following than I do. They're like, "How are my fans? And what do my fans think about me?" And it's interesting. I'll post something about mine, 5 likes. I'll post something of my son, 85 likes. So they're budding entrepreneurs themselves. But it's about
Wow.
what feels good for you and what aligns for you, and even in lifestyle as well. Like, Christine absolutely loves kale, and she has a garden, and she talks a lot about it. Kale to me tastes like I'd rather be fat. So we talk about that as well.
Oh, it's oh yeah. I mean, I have mixed feelings about kale, but I have never had it on its own. I always had it in a smoothie with like a. My trainer once told me, and I've never heard of kale before. He asked me to buy kale, and he just said put in a smoothie with all the other ingredients. So I never actually got to taste kale itself. So I had other ingredients in there which kind of hid in the kale. So I enjoy kale as long as it's in my smoothie. I've never tried it on its own. So I'm sure I probably won't like it as well because I'm very very picky on that. So coming to your own journey as well, and obviously you pivoted. Now you're helping others to say no as well without being mean. And obviously your bio was you're a straight talking person as well, which is coming across. No BS is this is it. And so what is your routine that how do you now stay
sane throughout the day? I know you've got the schedule you said, but what is the routine? Is there like a meditation that you do in the morning? I know you're part of a 5 a.m. club because you're up at early hours now.
I love that though, unofficially. So I don't set an alarm because I just tend to now more naturally wake early. But when I wake up, it tends to be around 5. The very first thing that I do is go for a walk. Um, and my husband stays home with the kids. They're usually still asleep. So I go for a walk. I get home. I make it's called yucky juice. Kristen and I have an episode about coming up about that. It's the adrenal cocktail. She talks about it. I made it. My son's like, ew, this is like yucky juice. Hence the name was born. So I have that. I do some journaling. Sometimes if there's time, I do meditation. It depends what time the kids wake up. So basically I treasure this morning time, or I record podcasts like this. And then when the kids are up, we do breakfast and get them ready for school. And then my husband now actually takes the kids to school because he has worked from home since COVID. That's been the gift in COVID. So I was like, hey, this is a whole boundary thing. I was taking the kids to school because I always had. And then I was like, you work from home now. So just having a discussion, I was like, could you move your morning break back earlier and drop the kids at school? And he's like, I don't see why not. So that's actually saved me an hour, because for him, they just tend to jump out of the car, see your dad, off they go. For me, it's a whole situation. So I actually get most of my work done in the morning. And then I pick the kids up from school and do after school activities with them. And then I have the evening after family time, I put them to bed. I might do a little bit more work then. But then if I do work in the evening, then in the middle of the day, I just take my downtime, like what would be my evening time then. So it's funny, my husband comes down, he's like, what are you doing watching Yellowstone in the middle of the day? It's like, because I can. So I think sometimes we end up just like sticking, like when I first became an entrepreneur, I think entrepreneurs are the only people who leave a 9 to 5 to work 24/7. And it was like,
100%,
without a boss or whatever, you have to do that for yourself. And it's like, well, actually, I like doing things when the kids are outside of the house, and I like having my downtime completely on my own. So in the middle of the day is when I, might have a nap or watch a show or do something that I really enjoy. Instead of staying up late doing it, then I get to go to bed early. So I get up early. So it just tends to work.
That's that's a wonderful routine there as well, and obviously you're waking up naturally early in the morning. It's a wonderful thing to happen. Like your body clock is just waking you up instead of like, I know there was a time I used to have like 10 alarms before I actually wake up. So be one alarm will come up and then I'll snooze that, and then there's another one that will kick in, and yeah, that was a miserable time.
It is.
Now it's a miserable time. So because now looking back at it, I can see that you're agitated because of those alarm noises and everything, even though it was a soothing sound, whatever that is, it's a soothing sound, but you've been interrupted, other than naturally being woken up by your body saying, oh, hello, it's wake up time. All right, let's go. But I think it's something is designed by the society for you to have, because my daughter's now 15, and she's doing the same thing. She's got like 10 alarms just to wake up before school. I mean, I wake up, I knock on the door and say, okay, time for school, get ready. And I've woken up an hour before her actual alarm anyway. So, and that's the time she needs to wake up. But she has 10 alarms before that she will wake up, which is an hour in now. And then we are just rushing around. I'm like, I'm actually sitting down now. And she's like, where's my this? Where's my this? Where's this? I need to do this. And she's got her chores that she needs to do in the morning before we leave the house, empty the dishwasher and all that stuff. They're not going to do it itself. And I got no time. I'm not got time. I knocked at your door at 5 o'clock, right? We were up. So let's do this. Oh no. Yeah. So that's I think it's something designed by the society that you just get trapped into, and then you just continue and you take it along with at work. Hopefully she gets out of it, naturally waking up herself. Sometimes she has done it, but a lot of times it's just the alarms there. So fingers crossed for her there.
But also too, as you said, with so many alarms, what people tend to do is hit snooze. So they're not actually going back to sleep. So they're not getting quality of sleep, but they're not awake. Or people wake up and the first thing they go to is their phone. So then you have all the social media, all the notifications, all the emails, and then you're like wondering why you feel so lousy first thing in the morning. It's like I don't even look at my email until I get back from, well, I don't do the school drop off, but like until my workday actually starts, because I'm not going to access these things early in the morning unless I have something like a podcast like this. You might email me, there's a different link or someone's, something like that. But email is always someone else's priority. It's not mine.
I love that. And touching on that, how did that come about for you? I'm sure that wasn't always the case. So
Oh gosh,
how
no.
did that how did that pivot happen for you, that you now are able to consciously not pick up the phone for those emails, or look for a
So
certain time?
the straw that broke the camel's back was the moment my son said that I cared more about my phone than him. That was like, I had to really reevaluate from there, because I was like, that is true. Like, not that I did care, but I could see how it was being seen, perceived that way. So, and then I was like, so originally I went to uni, I was going to be a doctor, I went to medical school, and I'm a coach now. And I was like, there's no emergencies in coaching. Like, there honestly is no emergencies in coaching. Like, the client might feel like it's an emergency, but if it's truly an emergency, they should be going to the hospital, not contacting me. So I had to step back from that. I had to do some like self-coaching about that. And then I had to convey that to my clients and basically saying, up until now, I've been 100% responsive. I've, had my phone on me all the time. Going forward, this is, the boundary that I'll be setting, and this is how things have to be. Some people were unhappy with that, but most people loved it, because people secretly want that for themselves. And when they see somebody model that, then they're like, oh, like I can do that. And the thing with it as well is, it's up to me to protect and uphold my boundaries. It's not up to anyone else. So if somebody messages me and goes, oh, I know that you don't, respond to DMs, and then I respond, it's not their fault. It's my fault for not answering that. So it's kind of like upholding the boundary. So I made the decision. I deleted email off my phone. Email's only on my computer. I articulated that. And then people who were in my program at the time, I was like, this is a group coaching program. So everything for the benefit of the group needs to be posted and shared in here. I will no longer be answering DMs. I will no longer be answering emails about coaching. Only emails I want is about admin, like you have some question about payment or something like that. But it's about, first deciding for yourself what works for you, then conveying it to others, and then reminding them. Like, if someone crosses a boundary, it's not, me making it mean that they don't respect me or they don't this or they don't that. They just forgot. It's just a matter of reminding them. Or if not answering, then they're like, oh yeah. So, so it's just deciding how you're going to respond to that. And I reiterate every round of my program, this is how, you communicate. Or I tag them in the post about how the group works, rather than me having to explain again and again. Often people are just looking for regulation. Like, something happens and you're like, oh, I need this. And when you don't respond, then they're like, oh yeah. So they figure it out.
That's actually wonderful. Yeah, and you're mentioning that as well, isn't it? To regulate that yourself, because no one else is going to do that. Everybody wants looking after. Hey, look after me, look after me. Hey, answer my question. Everybody has that, and it's like opening the floodgates once you start answering one, and then here we go, your time's just gone. And so you need to be conscious of that. And I love that you shared this. When you were sharing this, I was just thinking of what I do and how I started to now, if somebody picks up my phone, and actually somebody did the other week, and they just saw a million notifications on it, like on the off screen, you can still scroll up. There's like millions of them. And they're like, does not bother you? I'm like, not really, because I've acknowledged it. Yeah, you've seen it, but I have no anxiety of now tapping onto it and go and reply. Most of them are just Instagram notification, Facebook notification, and that person's tagged you, this person's done that. Yeah, so I know it's there, and I will get back to it when it is. Yeah, if there's WhatsApp messages, Telegram, and whatnot, messengers and all that stuff is there. If I see somebody who is really close to me is message, yep, I reply. Everybody else knows that I will reply when I'm free. It's something that I created because I have a day role, and then I am also doing these other things. So everybody knows I'm a very busy person. So me getting back to you is actually great that I got back to you on the same day rather than a couple of days later. Some people I do get back 2-3 days later because they know I might have just said, okay, I've said to everybody after 10 p.m. I'm like off. You know, my phone is on the side. Don't do it. But this habit came to me from I do it every year for the past 4 years now. The last 2 weeks of December or last 2 weeks of the year, my phone goes on to do not disturb mode. That means I'm not on social media. I'm not on any of these things. The only members that can contact me are just my family members. So they are on the, come through list, and everybody else is off. No even text messages will come through. And that's it. It goes there. So anybody trying to reach out to me would not be able to do anything. I am not going to go into social medias and everything. First year was tough, but after that it's so natural. I just do it every year now. Last year I only did it for 1 week because there was a couple of things which were bouncing up to me, and then I had to delay it. But that also gave me the patience of now not getting agitated by the gazillion of notification. I need to get rid of it. I need to clean my screen, because that's what everybody wants. They want, I need to clean my screen, get rid of these messages, notifications. I'm like, it's there. It'll stay there for a few weeks for me,
Well, it's kind of like housework. If you panicked whenever there was some dirty laundry or a cup in the sink or whatever, like you realize, yes, I'm not saying don't do your dishes.
Yes.
But there's going to be more. And I think, it's just realizing that, it can be there and you'll be okay. And it's the same, like I tend to run a masterclass once a quarter, and I advertise it. I'm like, the link's here. And then when people sign up, they get the link to the group, and because I do a pop-up group. And if someone messages me like, or how do I sign up, or, whatever, I used to answer all of those. Now I don't. I'm like, they'll figure it out, or they won't. But it's just kind of like, it's amazing how people go, I signed up, but I never got anything. And if I don't answer, I see them request the group, because what they do when I don't reply is then they go and maybe check their spam, or check, if they really want the thing, then they'll figure it out. And if they don't, but I don't need to be responsive to all these things when I've clearly stated, and even in the email too, like when I run the pop-up group, the confirmation email says in bold, you can request to join the group at any time. Your request will be pending until, like, it's all explained, and people will often message every round. There's at least one, sometimes many. Oh my God, I'm not in the group yet. And what do I do? And all this sort of stuff. I don't respond to those anymore.
Yeah.
Some people might see that as rude, and that is okay. But the thing is it rude to me not respond to this, or is it rude for the person not to actually read the thing and then ask? And then, as you said, your time is valuable, but you need to see that as valuable, and you need to uphold that first. And so many people, it's funny, they'll get the message and then they'll go, I've got a question. They'll answer the question, and then they'll write back and go, oh, you already answered it, when I don't respond. So I think when we take ourselves out of it, and instead of having to answer everything and be on tap, on call all the time, I left that industry for a reason.
I actually love that, and you reminded me so many things that these little things that happen all around me, because I'll see these little because I'm part of these little groups, a part of other people's groups, and you'll see things, and the person will then ask a question which is already just been answered, and then you are replying to that and asking the same question again. It's like, but that it's just there. Did you read it, or you just went, or they will go, oh yeah, the link's not working. Well, yeah, somebody's already said the link's not working, and we just wait, see what the response comes through, or have you checked why the link is not working? Maybe check the email. Most of the time, the emails or some message is there. It's just like, no, I'm supposed to get a direct message now because I'm going to ask the question, so I should get a response. Well, no, it's in the group, because you're in the group. You need to just check, because a lot of people might have just had that conversation.
Well, I used to. You asked at the beginning, why do I do what I do? When I very first started group coaching, I was a weight loss coach, and my very first round of my group, people would ask all the time, what time's the next call? It's literally there. It's posted. It's marked. It's pinned. It's everywhere. So I would have to go and look, because I don't know off the top of my head. And then I would do this. I would go and look, and then I would answer. What time's the next call? What's the Zoom link? What's this? All things that were clearly stated and labeled everywhere. And then I got burnt out. I got tired. And the thing is, it's not the client's fault. It's mine. I responded to these. And then I got to a point where I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And when you join my group now, if you join my group, it's all clearly explained. And then if people ask, I don't shame, judge, guilt. They're not, banished from the group. It's just kind of like, pinned the first time, like I'll tag them in the place where they can find it all. And after that, I just don't respond. And I say that in the video. If you keep asking me stuff, I'm not going to respond. Not because I don't love and care and want the best for you, but often when we jump into a container, we can have mind drama about the surface thing. What time's the call? Where's the link or whatever? Or as a way to avoid the drama about the real thing, that's what I'm interested in. That's what you pay me for. And that's what I'll coach on. Let's talk about the real thing, not this surface stuff that keeps our mind busy, but not actually doing the deep work.
I love that. And love that you've obviously went through the mindset side of things as well. So bring it back to yourself in terms of now you've shared your your routine and so forth, and in terms of how you're taking your client through that journey of becoming a less pleaser, I would say, because I think there's always it takes a lot of time, and then I love that you do it through the seasons as well. So that when you were talking about the after, I was thinking of after party, and then after party, and then after party, it's like party's going for the whole weekend. so is that kind of thing, right? So it's what's happening after, how you're doing, and what people tend to keep. Because when you do the first time, maybe I don't know, a few things will resonate and they stick behind because that was important to you that time, right? That's what the brain was looking for, and then that's what the mind hold on to, and then you started implementing it, taking the action. By the time you're, again, 4 or 5 months down the line, you also evolved as a person because of all these new skills you have. You're a different person. You've just had an upgrade. Now you're ready for another upgrade, which you can have it from, again, just repeating the stuff again. Because now you'll be looking at it from a different angle. I don't read a lot, but I listen to books, and a lot of time I end up listening to the same book a few times, and every time the book is different. And I'm like, I don't remember listening to this part. Where was this part? So
that happens in 2 ways in my program. So now I always teach it live. So although the concept will be the same, the way I teach it will evolve, because I too have evolved from round to round to round. So I take myself through the program every time as well, because I change and I shift and I'm ready for more. And the dynamic of who's there and what they're asking shapes the material as well. But I think, so often there's only so much we're available for. We only have so much capacity. As you said, you can read a book and you pick out like if I'm one of those people who highlights the books, like younger me would be like, oh, how dare you? But it's fascinating when I read them back, because it's like, what did I highlight that for? That's not that thing. This part, like the book is the same, but you have changed. And I think there's something amazing about repetition and taking yourself deeper, because as I said, we all know what to do. We just don't do it. And a way of us always looking for the next program, the next coach, the next thing, is us going from spring to spring to spring energy. Or spring, this is going to be the thing. Winter, it wasn't that. Spring, this is going to be the thing. Winter, it wasn't that. Like, we avoid the summer of actually doing the stuff, and then the harvest, because the harvest is like, well, I'm not there yet, so I don't want to look at this. Like, but if you were an actual farmer, which I laugh at because I have like a black thumb or whatever it is, I could kill everything. But if you had grown like this apple tree, and the apple was kind of like hard and whatever, if you didn't prune it, it would then start to rot. It's not going to turn into this amazing edible fruit by you just leaving it on the tree. We need to prune in order to grow. So sometimes, the harvest isn't this abundant, rich, wonderful fruit. It's kind of like, let's just kind of cut this back or burn it so that we can start again. And when we're no longer afraid of that, then we can actually move forward into the next cycle, into the next season, rather than holding on for this one and hoping that this rotten thing is going to turn into something magical.
That was an amazing share there, and thank you for sharing that, especially the farmers examples. It's amazing, because I actually never knew that you need to be doing that with the apples tree, for example. And I was thinking, I've got a fruit tree. We never ate from that tree anyway, because it always tastes horrible. And so it could be because we're not looking after it. It's just in the corner, right? And so maybe I need to look into how to look after that tree.
My sister is an avid gardener. I remember the first time I went to visit, my sister's significantly older, so I went over and I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, cutting it back. And I was like, dead. And she's like, no, you need to do this. Yeah, because otherwise you never get to the fruit stage. So,
Mm.
yeah.
I love that. There's so many things going on in my brain with that. So that's good. Um, we're nearly coming to an end here, and I love that you shared your whole journey there, and there's pivotal moments in there as well. Lots of golden nuggets for people to take away from this. So everybody who's been listening to us now, if you had a spark moment, any inspirational moments from either one of us having this conversation, it's our duty now to share this episode with whomever that came to your mind, or if not, just share it, because if it's created that spark or the inspiration in you, it will create that similar spark and inspiration with that person as well. And that's all we need to move forward and say, why not? So we just start that. Suzanne, thank you very much. Before I finish, I ask all the guests, what would you like to say to the listeners who are tuning in now live on Instagram or watching this later as a playback or on a podcast? As a wrap up?
Firstly, thank you for your time and attention. I really appreciate that. And secondly, I love how you call them sparks, Sishan. I love that. But whatever spark you have taken away from this, how are you actually going to action? Like, what are you going to do differently as a result? Because we can control how much we consume. Like, and I said, I used to be a weight loss coach, so I know a lot about eating, overeating, binge eating, but we can't control how much we digest. And, when you take that spark and you're like, okay, as a result of listening to this is what I'm going to do differently. Tiny, small, baby step that you're going to actually action. That's where, the transformation comes from. Because transformation isn't what you do when you're motivated. It's what you do when you can't be bothered. So, from your spark, what are you actually going to do differently? Love for you to share it with us in the comments, or send me an email. As I said, don't do DM. But, what actually, because whenever I listen to anything, I used to get really frustrated. I listen to all these things, I watch all these things, and my life isn't changing. It's like, yeah, because you're not doing anything differently. So whenever I listen to anything, what spark, I love how that's what you call it, am I take away? What intention am I going to take from this and actually bring into being? And I really encourage you to think about that with whatever you are consuming and listening to.
Wow, that's an amazing wrap up share there. Thank you very much, Suzanne, for doing this. Everybody else, we will see you next Tuesday with another amazing guest. And thank you again for tuning in. And thank you, Suzanne, for your time as well.
Thank you.
Bye bye.